It is 7:01 p.m. on February 4th, 2026. We will call the Planning Commission meeting for the month of February to order. We begin with a roll call. Drew Falk.
Elizabeth Saul. Amanda Tao. Just in time.
Allison Miller.
James Whitesides, Allison Miller, and Simon Miller.
Yeah, I heard him.
Excellent. Okay, first thing is we do have an amended agenda, so we do have to pass a motion to accept this amended agenda for the evening. So
People online don't know about the amendment.
let's do that. Entertain a motion to approve. Seconded by Colin. All in favor?
Aye. I'm sorry, who moved? Was Elizabeth or Amanda? Who motioned? Amanda, thank you. Okay. I'm up to speed. So I'm trying to multitask. Go.
The next thing on the agenda will be to approve the meeting minutes from the month of January. So everyone received the minutes, any comments or feedback on said minutes of January. Someone like to approve.
Move to approve the minutes from the January.
Second.
Motion by Elizabeth. Second
Right?
by James, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 2 minutes. All right.
I don't know how to turn it.
So first, our second on the list is to see the final approved docket from the city. So do you want
That's you.
Oh, I can pull it.
Do it or?
I mean, you already reviewed it at the joint meeting. I just want to make sure you had it and it was on the agenda, that you acknowledged that that is what was discussed. It was basically the way you guys had presented it to the council. So you all have a copy. It's on the website. We'll meet again in June, and the council will actually come here to your meeting. And if there's anything that needs to be modified or added, that's the time that we will do that for the remaining of the year. Yeah.
We left all 9 on, so. All right. Vicious. Here we go.
Very ambitious.
All right, so the meat of tonight's meeting, we are going to pick up the conditional use permit discussion, conditional uses of discussion. So do we want to pull up the file that Elizabeth created for us?
Elizabeth, is that okay if I pull it up? Okay. Let me share screen. And find it. Yay. Okay, can we just move the box? Okay, so Elizabeth, out of the kindness of her heart, put this amazing document together. It's well organized. I still have these that are just a quick reference to the use, what the definition is, if we need to glance at them. So if you need one, I have them over here. But the goal tonight, I would love to go through these. This is the working copy that I received from her. And if we can kind of discuss, talk, work through this, I think that would be super helpful tonight. And then I will have a better idea of what types of criteria we need to plan for.
Great.
So looking back at the key, this is for anyone online. P stands for permitted, PX is permitted with administrative review, and AU would be accessory or auxiliary use, and a C is the conditional use. And I need to move my share screen button.
What's an example of auxiliary use?
Like an accessory use is like an ADU, because you have to have a primary use to have an accessory use. Sorry. I'm screen sharing and this thing is blocking my tabs, so I can't get to them.
So in that context, it might be for
Yes.
accessory developments, so for ADUs.
Yes.
And process on AU vary. Either
Accessory use is all like limited administrative.
limited L.
So anything that's an AU, yeah, is limited administrative. So no public comment period. It's just reviewed administratively with criteria. So like we currently have code that regulates ADUs. You guys just updated it. So now we allow the two. So those would all apply, but it's just reviewed in-house and permitted with the building permit.
My understanding is the special designation of accessory use instead of permitted outright is you cannot have that as a standalone use.
Right.
Like dwelling above ground. Yeah. Like it, you can only have it if you have a primary use. So if you build a 900 square foot house, it's not an ADU unless you already have another house that's bigger.
So are you guys okay with, this is the one that, Elizabeth started working on. Are we okay working off that? And then discussing any, so this is not the current code, this is, her info.
Yeah, I think the way I like to approach it is there's lots of opportunity that we've all identified, but a lot of these can be removed and grouped.
Mhm.
So I think let's start there.
Okay.
And then we can work through the actual zones.
Okay.
uses.
I can tell you guys here, this boarding house, lodging house, rooming house is basically going to be consolidated into co-living because that's really what it is. It's not like lodging, like short-term rental, it's long-term. So when we adopt, when we've already were mandated to have co-living, so when we adopt co-living regulations in our code, they will replace that. Does that make sense? So we'll swap.
I had a call about consolidations. There were a bunch of, with all the education facility, different definitions that are individually defined as where they're single education facilities. Was my thought.
Oh, yeah, you have that already.
Yeah.
There.
Put that on my.
Let's do it.
Nice.
I didn't get a chance to consolidate it.
No,
Well, no, I'm gonna put this on the working copy. On the-
Okay.
Yeah, sort of such. So
Oh, you turned yours into the table.
So if we switch boarding, lodging, rooming to co-living,
Mhm.
would that, is there a reason, if you think of it that way, if it's long-term, why would it not be in RL 6 or 8? If it's
Co-living
long-term.
for the state standards is like, we're mandated to permit it in multifamily only and on lots that are over a certain size. So it wouldn't work on all multifamily lots, only those that are over, I think, 12,000 square feet.
Okay.
So we
But
don't
you
allow,
have-
You can do co-living. in
it's a type of
2,000
multifamily, so it's considered a multifamily use, but it's defined separately from just generic multifamily per state law.
Right, but I guess I'm thinking, what if you have like a duplex or triplex or cottage housing in a single family zone and you want that to be co-housing? Is there a reason that that's not?
Yeah, the co-living
How-
is just defined separately. I think you could set it up as, I mean, the co-living is just, if I pull the definition, it's gonna be defined differently than a duplex, or it's like single rooms. I mean, there's nothing that says like somebody couldn't own a duplex and rent out a bedroom, but the co-living is designed like,
this is a
almost like,
purpose-built.
it's purposely built like a dorm.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
The first three things.
But I guess I'm thinking,
Yeah. Like if I look
I
at state
mean-
law, they're like co-living is also defined in other codes as boarding houses, lodging houses, rooming houses.
yeah.
Because we don't regulate people renting out rooms within their home or duplex or within a permitted structure. This would be something that's built explicitly for co-living.
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking like the thing proposed right behind City Hall where they want like 8 bedrooms that share kitchen or whatever. I mean, if you wanted to do that, and I mean they're proposing something quite large, but if you wanted to do that at a scale that would fit on a single family RL6 or R8 zone, like, should we not allow that, or should we allow that? Because if you can
I
build a
lived in-
triplex, then it's sort of like, well, why couldn't you do like a
I lived in that house in
co-living?
college. I lived in a place with a shared central space and 3 apartments with individual bathrooms, but it was more like that boarding house style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't extend it down. At least to R8, RL6 is my part fit on there, but someone could figure it out. Sure.
Minimally, we have to have it.
Minimum,
I mean,
yeah,
there's some 12,000 square foot lots that are RL6 zoned.
So we're good with this one. This is gonna turn to co-living with this attached co-living.
and you want, I mean, do you want to put that as,
I don't see why we wouldn't. Zero benefit to not.
I feel like it's something that's bounded by like the size and amount of parking and other factors of like how many people live there is bounded by other rules in the code, so that you can't like do anything too crazy, you know, because you have to like
so we'll just want to, like, right now, because we don't have anything in our code, we're bound to the state law. So if we change this, but we still don't have code in place for it, it will default to the state law, which is only in multifamily, 12,000 square feet or bigger, and all those standards. So until we adopt this and the requirements for it, just, yeah, so we'll want to make sure
Just future.
we do that as part of this.
Any objections to that?
All right, dwelling above ground floor. The reason this is in here is because it's for those commercial zones. So accessory use in these zones because there needs to be a primary use. And then the CDMU is an overlay, like a mixed use commercial. We might be getting rid of it because you can already do mixed use pretty much, and nobody's ever used this and it was adopted, I think, in 2012 or 2015. So it's been over 10 years, and I think with the changes we've made in code, it doesn't,
Yeah.
like, nobody is incentivized to use that. So that might be something we look at with our comp plan update as like, what is the value in it when you can already do it in the other zones? It's just more confusing. So that'll be something we do look at when we come to you with comp plan amendment and development regs. But that's pretty straightforward. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. We have cottage housing as permitted outright. We have multifamily or duplex permitted outright. Multifamily permitted in multifamily. And then all the commercial zones, I guess. I mean, do you want me to read through each of these, or do you want to just like holler when you want something changed? I value your guys' time.
Let's call out the weird ones. So like emergency shelter to me is a strange one. I got there and I went, why do we only allow it in those places and not downtown and light industry? Or multifamily, where we would want like if there's a major, I don't know, it felt a little weirdly constrained, pushed into those 3 zones, which are just the 3 commercial spaces plus the 2 rec zones. Fine. But anyway, that's probably not.
And we're required with our development regs to update our emergency housing. Require like what's required by state law. So that's going to be something we do after comp plan. So that could be something we tackle when we have to add that to our code. We can update, because I don't know the ins and outs. Like there might not be people that want the emergency shelter in a residential zone for whatever reason, whatever the new state law
I don't
is.
even know what the emergency shelter qualifies as.
Yeah,
Like
what
when
is
our
it?
definition was vague. So I think that's one of those ones again where it's like,
This might be something that we address when we address emergency shelters later this
yeah, great.
fall. If you're okay with that, I'll add
I'm
it.
totally okay with that. Just the thing that made me go and this.
Like why?
Well, yeah, why exactly? And then the vacation short-term rental one also seems
And that's explicit to like an existing home converted into a short-term rental, because we don't allow it in the residential zones,
Okay,
but only in the
so
commercial.
maybe a
zones.
wording change, like use, like. Maybe no one cares about that, or no one reads it as that, but I read it as like. It seemed like it was, we allow us to short-term rental, but in a very specific context.
We allow them only in general commercial, commercial or tourist.
Triplexes.
I'm gonna highlight this, sorry, guys. I'm not familiar with. I'm,
So
It-
the only emergency shelter that I am aware of ever existing in town is Mend was running one for a while behind Community Cupboard. And it was, which I just looked, and that is a multifamily zone, which it is not supposed to be permitted in. And they stopped doing it because it was presenting a lot of challenges, and it works a lot better for them to give people hotel vouchers for emergency shelter. But I just thought that was interesting. Yeah, that it's like in 3 zones, that it doesn't necessarily make sense. And like the one place it ever existed, as far as I know, is like not even one of those zones.
Yeah.
Or 5 zones, I guess. So.
okay. What's the next weird one?
Triplexes, what's that? City.
It's going to, they wanted a second workshop, so I'm bringing it to them at study session again this next week. And then if they're okay, they're supposed to set the hearing this Tuesday, and the hearing will be the 24th of this month. So it's moving ahead. So if, I'll have more feedback after next week, and if they set the hearing, I'll let you all know if you want to be here or online to support that. They might have questions that
Also, you said
I didn't want to send it out until I know that they've said it, and I won't know till Tuesday. So that will fall in here as a separate use.
we looked at manufactured home, and we talked about working with tiny homes, or reason we didn't.
Because we had to make some other change. We didn't have, they're defined differently.
That's like a state definition.
Because tiny home is specifically defined as like on a like a specific chassis, it's under a certain square footage. Some jurisdictions have done like a tiny home on wheels, a THOW versus a tiny home, and so they allow the tiny home on wheels in like a RV park, but then they allow the tiny home not on wheels, and I mean, so there's a lot more consideration because there's so many defined. There's building code, then there's definitions with L&I, and I think grouping them separately makes sense because they are defined separately, but we need standards for the tiny home dwelling. Because we have our residential design standards now that are going with the triplexes, but they don't really address that specifically unless we want that to apply to tiny homes too. Which it could. But I think that's why they're defined separately. And then manufactured home designated is the new awful lot, not more than 3 years old, not previously titled. And there's some other criteria. And the reason manufactured mobile home is not permitted is because those are the older homes. They are. I thought they were allowed in manufactured homes. We need to update all our code for manufactured homes as well. So that's something we're addressing this year too, later in the fall. So I could put do you want me to put tiny homes and manufactured homes as a look at in fall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just-
I like that. This is not gonna be pretty, you guys. I'm sorry. Okay, you can keep going while I'm moving slowly. Come on. I need a mouse.
Vacation rental, this is separate to. evening.
Right.
So this would be really applied to commercial.
And I don't think anyone wants to allow them. I don't think the community would support allowing them in residential zone.
Yeah, we all have 13 pages of code.
For a reason.
Okay, moving to accessory structures.
Mhm.
What's the difference between child daycare and daycare center is not.
No, there's the
The
number of
size,
kids.
the number of kids.
Size. You go to the notes.
I see that now, it's 12 viewers. It's like. Those definitions are criteria, but not classes.
Well, also
It's a
the child daycare is an accessory use that's more similar to like home occupation.
Right.
And then daycare center is like not part of your home
Right,
necessarily.
yeah, so child daycare could hold for 2K home occupation.
I think they're specific. I think it needs
Is it
to be,
state
I think it needs to be separate because when you look at our definition of group B, it limits. I mean, it's things that. I look at daycare, I mean, I've had 3 kids in daycare. There is parking and loading area. There's a lot more to look at than just like one person coming at a time, like a hair salon, or like if you had. The group B of home occupations are designed for still a low impact, but like one person coming at a time, not multiple. I just think it's a larger impact. It still would be a full administrative review. It follows the same process as a home occ, but I don't want to open up that can of worms and then have.
The other question I had was, daycare center and group B home occupation, the two things that are in accessory structures, and I think those are commercial. That's a distinction that I thought was kind of like.
Except that their accessory uses.
Well, daycare center. As a, it is not an accessory
Yeah,
use.
sorry, it's a center.
Yeah, the center is
Yeah.
not an accessory use, so that's where it's like, okay,
That is weird.
so that's a commercial operation. Group A, group B home occupation is fine. Nursing convalescent homes are not an accessory structure. That's a commercial operation. Youth home is not an accessory thing, it's a public.
So wait, sorry. So daycare moving to commercial,
That would be my thought.
Yeah. I
Daycare
agree.
or would it be at public or?
Well, it's not,
We have,
it-
we have
It's kinda like an
preschool
education.
there, which is the same, we don't have. And a place of worship, which are. And then the recreation,
golf courses are also commercial.
yeah.
Like, I don't
There's a
know,
lot of.
there's a
things
lot of
are
things that,
commercial that are under public.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't public, it's not public. It's-
I mean, if we're saying that educational centers and facilities, which could probably be combined, are public, then a daycare center, like a freestanding daycare, would probably be public. And then we could even think about, does that just get looped into education?
Yeah, I understand the benefit.
Or is there a big enough difference in scale that it should have its own category? Like, is daycare center significantly limited in size compared to like education center or education?
facility or center, yeah, those definitions.
And I know there's some sort of licensure difference between a preschool and a daycare center, but for our zoning uses purpose, I don't know that we care about that.
We could say daycare / preschool and just have the two definitions and definitions, but group them together as a,
As an object.
As a
or
use.
As a permitting.
just like we have lodging house, boarding house, rooming house, all in one type. It could be something like that.
Daycare center, preschool. Once be regulated.
So for daycare center, then, if it's a center, not in a home, over 12 kids, are we still, I mean, we're still okay with it being a full administrative review, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't have to change anything. I'm just going to relocate it in the table.
Yeah, I just, I don't think it needs to be, like, child daycare is something we will have. It's an accessory use,
Mhm.
and I think that's fine in that section.
Cool.
12 is a lot.
My kids were in a daycare center that had 70. They went from 12 to 70. They tore it down and rebuilt an actual, anyway, it was in an old house and then so the
That's why
daycare
I'm kind of
can be a
like-
huge impact in a neighborhood.
That's why I'm like, how different is daycare center from other educational facilities? And even if we separate things out, if we're talking about like having administrative review for like clusters of things, then that could have the same review standards as other education facilities or centers, even if we like for whatever reason need to have them separated in the use chart. So in the current table, group A and B are both accessory, right?
But one requires, based on, if you go to Title 21, one requires full administrative and one requires limited administrative. So this clarifies more easily the
Okay.
process.
Got it.
They both are, yeah, administratively approved, but one requires a public notice and comment period. So,
Yeah, same thing with foster. I guess foster homes and interesting.
why is it in there?
I don't quite understand that as a use. Foster home would.
That might
I
just be an
remember
old
that-
carryover.
I feel like that came up like shortly after I joined, and it was like it was not allowed in it was listed as a use, but it was like not allowed in most districts or something, and we're like that's actually like breaking
not
some
have
laws.
I don't see a definition for it, Allison, so I think that's one that just needs a definition of like what we're talking about. Because when I think
Yeah.
the Washington fostering system works, from when I worked with one of the agencies that does it, like it doesn't quite make,
Why would you have a limit on that? Like, don't they live in their home? Like,
they live in a home, yeah, but Washington.
Yeah, I
system
mean it's just like
doesn't actually indicate like, because that, a foster home is an enterprise using state funds to take care of children.
but it's like not a change in impact, it's just somebody housing a child in their home.
Multiple children.
Yes, but like the foster home definition is like a commercial enterprise that does this thing, not with parents, but with staff. And so that's where it's a funny.
Oh, it's defined separately than just foster
My understanding.
care.
Yeah,
Got it. So we need a definition.
we need a definition. I think a new definition, if something doesn't have a definition,
Yeah, they all need definition.
even so many.
I don't know how I missed that one. I'm sorry, guys.
It's a lot, yeah.
I know, but I don't know how I missed it. I'm sorry. I think I was only looking at things that were conditional to begin with, and now we're looking at everything. And so the list I made
Yeah.
was just conditional, so I apologize for that.
No, this opened up a can of worms. I had the original little list you sent out was much easier.
I'm glad we're looking at it this way, so.
Is that you or me?
You?
Is it?
Need definition, okay.
Also, in line 24, nursing home needs to move out. Nursing home congregate care facility is not an accessory structure.
Yeah.
That's good.
that same thing like is an adult family home. I mean, I guess that's
It's
accessory.
permitted.
It's like a child daycare in the sense that it's like a limited number of people. But in that case, I guess it still needs to be listed as permitted and not just accessory.
Well, it's a use within, it's permitted as a dwelling, so it's like an accessory use
Okay.
within a dwelling unit, I think, is like,
Okay.
it's not an accessory structure, but it is a, I don't know.
Accessory use, not structure. So yeah. But yeah, nursing convalescent home is like definitely
I just don't want to mess this up.
not
so that's why I'm
accessory.
correcting this.
That's great.
So I'm gonna move to, sorry. What am I doing? Commercial or?
Well,
Public?
actually, maybe public, semi-public, because some of these might be
Yeah.
state funded, some of these might be
Mhm.
fully trying to guys.
It's, some of them would work in multiple locations and I'll look at definitions too. And that is a change, the P is a change, right? Or is it already permitted everywhere without a C? I just want to make sure we're,
That's an edit. Slightly creative.
okay. So is everyone in agreement to allow it outright in all residential zones?
It's conditional currently.
That's with no public comment, but it is with, I mean, it would require a building permit.
I think the only question is if due to like parking and like people coming and going, if we would want to have an administrative review comparable to like other institutional uses that have more comings
Yeah.
and goings and parking.
I agree.
Okay, so we can do a PX on those?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because I do feel like this, like if we group all these institutional uses, for review standards, a lot of it will revolve around like parking, like
Landscaping possibly.
access, landscaping, and potentially events.
Okay. We have parking lots, swimming pools, and youth home.
Swimming pools needs a definition.
I didn't win all of that.
And that's gonna be, I mean, it'll be different, right? Like swimming pool is gonna be residential and residential zones and commercial and, I mean, like,
Well, an accessory use in someone's backyard, we need criteria, like what we, technically in town, I would say that we should push that into like, yes, like we don't want people putting something.
we do have people as well.
I know, but that they could be.
But if they're putting it in, if it's temporary, like, would you rather them build it in or have a temporary?
A lot of people don't have room.
Yeah.
They do have standards in our code. You have to have, like, per building code, you don't need to have a fence at all if you have a safety cover, but we have code that says you have to have a 5-foot fence as a barrier, regardless of whether or not you have safety cover. And that has been kind of the push, like our building officials over many years have wanted that to remain. Because we're a small community and we have small lots, you don't want, it's very easy for an animal, a child to fall into a pool if somebody forgets to close the safety cover. So,
Recreation outdoor use also includes swimming pools,
Yes.
and so like, I think that
I think that's more commercial though, isn't it?
but it doesn't specify, it says whether publicly or privately owned, including not limited to, and includes swimming pool, and then also recreational facilities also include swimming pools. And then there's commercial amusement enterprise, a swimming club, so there's just like a lot of places that could be covered, we probably wanna.
I mean, I think swimming pools in the accessory section could be, I don't know how to define this, but basically that's referring to like a swimming pool that is exclusively for the use of people who are like already on the property. So for a hotel, it's a swimming pool that's for hotel guests. For a residence, it's a swimming pool for the resident versus a swimming pool as listed in like commercial or public recreation or whatever is like a swimming pool that people that like anybody can show up or
Do we wanna
you know that people come to.
Do we wanna make it harder for people to, like, I don't wanna make it hard for like a hotel to be able to let members of the public show up there and pay a fee to use. In fact, some of them do, but most of them don't because of insurance, so I don't wanna.
But I think that's
Well,
still
and I mean,
to the hotel.
yeah, because you would be going through the hotel. Like you could go to the hotel and be like,
Make
hey,
it
I would
say
like
you.
to buy a pass just to use your pool and not for a room, but you're still using it as a hotel guest effectively
Yeah, maybe
versus
that's-
like,
all these places, yeah.
I mean, anything in the accessory structure space, I feel like it's outright permitted, it's,
Yeah, I guess that's true.
like but that's where we don't have criteria,
No, we have criteria even for permitted, I think.
but not for every.
Not every single one. No, some of them are just, it's like, it's gonna require a building permit. It follows building code and zoning regulations. But if they need specific things, that's where, like a swimming pool is permitted as an accessory use, but it has standards. Even though it doesn't go through a full administrative review. I'm gonna put swimming pools clearly defined as separate use from, recreational, or what was it? The commercial / recreational. That'll help me remember what we talked about. I feel so bad. I'm just ruining this. What about, it would be accessory in the recreation too, correct? Because we're gonna have separate criteria for like an actual facility. Because if you look at recreation, public and recreation, that's like KOA, that's our
Yeah.
city parks.
Yeah, it would be accessory there. 'Cause
Yeah.
KOA is.
Primary use case.
Yeah.
What am I doing? You guys.
I feel like this could get kind of tricky about like the community center we want to do that's like a community center and a library. Oh, and it has a pool. Like, is that pool accessory to the community center, or is that or is
We'll
it
have to
like
clearly
a
define it.
public pool? Yeah. But I feel like if it's like a pool that's not associated with a primary use, that's like just a pool that the public or members, whatever, can go to. That's different than like, oh, clearly this pool is like accessory to the hotel or the house or the campground.
And usually, like, if you have a big community pool, you're gonna have swim meets, you're gonna have large events. Like, I think that's a different impact than just a pool that's accessory to a hotel or a pool that's in somebody's backyard. So, and the,
Swimming pool, private, swimming pool, public.
I mean, that might be, it just needs a clear definition. And maybe we look at examples of, I just don't want to get into the weeds and have so many definitions that it's so rigid, then nothing fits. And I also want it clear enough that we don't have to do a bunch of AIs on everything. So I appreciate you. I'm just gonna keep taking notes and then we can get through this tonight. That would be awesome. All right, any concerns with youth home? So that's a change from the current code.
It just shouldn't be an accessory category.
Youth home is only conditional and multifamily.
How is it defined?
State license defined supports youth transition.
Yeah, I edited it to permitted because that was my, but I was like,
It's also,
not sure why.
I don't think it's an accessory structure. That's a public or semi-public.
I feel like that's kind of in the same category as adult family home.
Yeah, whatever it is. You just-
Well, adult family home
Or
is like
foster
listed
home.
very, very specifically in state law and in building code. Like it follows the IRC, not the IBC, and it can't have more than 5 rooms, or it's 5 to 8. I don't want to miss something, but
excuse
there's
me.
like very strict code from the state for
Well, there's,
adult family home.
so youth.
But not for youth.
Is state licensed as well, it's a state license law to support youth, so maybe we should put that in state.
I think both of those that require state licensing should be in public.
And so that would be like the youth home, the
Youth home, adult, convalescent, nursing, care facility, adult family home, all 3 of those. They require state licensing, they should not be accessory.
And so where, sorry, where am I moving that?
Public,
Public.
public. Or slash semi-public.
Guys, I can't type, this is embarrassing. And where did we have foster home? Or foster home need definition, that's where, okay. So that's gonna be another where we possibly move it to.
Get it, you know, I need to do youth home slash commercial foster home versus just foster.
I feel like foster care though is like, that's just a kid in your house.
Right, so
That doesn't even, I don't even think, because we're not legally allowed to define what family
Yeah, you
is.
can't.
So,
then
I think
foster
taking-
care department.
yeah,
Reviewing it is because it's a licensed.
okay, so I'm gonna highlight this so I remember to move it. And, sorry, I'm so slow, you guys. What else did I miss?
That's most of that section. G. That's
But we're okay with like the changes here.
What about stack?
stack parking is a
Yeah.
funny one.
I thought that was super funny. I was like,
If someone has.
That got added in like 2019, 2020. It has never been used.
yeah.
It was
No
just,
one put a car lift. There's people with car lifts.
No, not commercial.
But it's, it
But-
just isn't defined as-
No, it's not defined as commercial.
Yeah.
there's standards for it in the code.
It's okay, sure.
It's
That's
in there as an
acceptable
option.
use case.
Yeah. And some of these things I think are like, you know, as I have to then go back and look up our state requirements and what we have to address in code versus, yeah, in reality, what.
Uber-
Anyway.
Uber has invalidated the second half line.
Wait, what?
Taxi cab stop.
So,
I think bus stop is. Just be there, like Ubers will drive anywhere and jump.
right.
Just
I think it's when they used to actually have a spot where they sit and wait.
Yeah, but they don't.
That
do
doesn't happen anymore.
Also, on this definition, I think there will be a conversation. about Tourist buses parking and where they park.
Oh.
About what? Sorry.
Tourist buses and where they park.
Oh,
It's
that might
not
be more of
defined.
in the parking code, like in Title
Is it in
10
the
than in
parking code?
I think so. But I think that should be addressed by parking enforcement versus this group
Yeah, but we should define it
as a public.
clearly as like public bus,
Yeah.
public transit. It is in the public section, but it's.
So there's no other. There's no other transportation. Definition. But that, we could just call that transportation. So. Public transit, so public transit, so.
But then, okay. Yeah, because I like that at least it has the PX, because I'm thinking like if they did a big like welcome and like link stop that's huge, we want some oversight if it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood versus just permitted. Like, so I like that at least it has the PX that has standards that they have to follow. So, what are we calling that?
You could just call it transit facility, because then to.
Public,
Jake's point, then we could, if we're talking about private buses where they park, we can kind of. So I'm just call it transit.
Excluding all points.
Yeah.
That's important for a reason.
Yep.
Maybe we talk Ghana.
We good with that?
Yeah.
I wanna make sure I'm capturing everyone's thoughts there. So can we lump clinic, hospital? And I guess they're different
I
impacts.
think they're different impacts.
Clinic is like outpatient.
Yeah, hospital has lots of.
Oh, it requires, oh, you're right.
Different parties.
I was thinking, I was looking down here and I was like, if they're both green, it's just one, but no, you're right.
So these are community center versus recreation center versus.
Why it's conditional use and how else it's applied.
I think it's that preservation of multiple, well, I guess we need housing everywhere.
But why we wouldn't allow it?
And then not permitted in multifamily, is that what you're saying?
Why we wouldn't allow it in CDA? Well.
I think
guess
CDMU is gonna go away.
CDMU doesn't
Doesn't
apply.
exist yet.
It's not-
What is,
No.
what is the Osborne is RP
Mhm.
or red?
You can look at the map.
Yeah.
For the.
Okay,
for the north half.
yeah, the south half is like the school district
South
still
half
owns.
is,
And we are talking with like with the comp plan, you know how the comp plan map is different from the zoning map? So we're talking about having a like public zone in our comp plan and then having like some, like, so like the PUD sites where they've got their oh my gosh, thank you. Or like the schools, those on a map, they look like they're residential zone, and then when we do analyses, it looks like we have all this land, but we really don't have for residential use. And so zoning them public and then having an adaptive reuse program, if that ever goes away, that somebody could come in and reuse that facility. That's what other jurisdictions have done. That's gonna be coming to you as an option. And so then some of these areas that are like Osborne, City Hall could be zoned public instead of commercial, residential. The parks will still be like recreation. Anyway, just thoughts.
so I've seen some cities. Call it EZ, zone,
Yeah, so that,
or just
public,
view.
yeah.
Public use.
that's just a conceptual idea that will be coming to you for comp plan. But then you could have community center as I mean, you have these designated areas that are people, like when they move the area, they know that's zone public, it's for public use. There's specific standards, there's specific uses that are allowed in those zones outright. So did you want me to add a C here
Or,
for community center? Okay,
I think that,
so we're okay
I
in
don't
the,
think there's any, like, I think. Allison would agree that like the fewer restrictions we have on community centers. the better.
well, this means it's not allowed there at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, why we're restricting it, but we'll allow some other things to happen. So that beyond, like, why would we force it into? Not allowed?
I didn't catch all of that because you guys are muttering, but
Oh, Community centers is just a weird line because of the restrictions placed on it and that it's conditional, meaning it has to go through administrative review. Or not administrative review.
It goes through the hearing examiner.
Go through hearing.
But I was just confused because it's like, if we talk about doing it and allowing it in these
Why not?
lower density, but then not in multifamily and then not in, I understand not in central commercial or tourist commercial, that makes sense because we want more of those tourist oriented things, not a community center. But general commercials like out by Safeway, that could be So that makes sense, but do we want to look at it in multifamily or not? I guess
I think this could be similar to other institutional uses and be permitted, have administrative review in like almost any zone.
Yeah.
In, yeah, I mean, in residential zones, I think the same as like other uses. I mean, I guess like a nursing home is still residential. But you know, education facilities, like why would you say that you can do that, but you can't do a community center? Because if I feel like the only reason would be if we're just like preserve residential zoned land for residential uses, but then we need to like get a lot more restrictive in ways I don't think we're interested in. Um, so it makes sense to me that it was administrative review in all the residential zones. I also don't see why we would not allow it to exist in like tourist commercial. I mean, technically, the fest hall was built as a community center. Um, that's it doesn't operate necessarily that way, but I mean, it kind of does. Like, there's a roller skating and there's a lot of community events. Um, like that was originally defined as a community center, from what I understand. So, like, why not allow that in the commercial zones?
Yeah, no, I think this should be in all the commercial zones.
As a P.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
in
I'm
commercial,
like,
yeah, it's the, I think you do the AU for the residential. Just review parking, that's all you're doing. Get back to community, I guess, but
Okay. So this is in the recreation and recreation public, it would be a PX, and then here also.
Yeah. I mean, I would even say it could be permitted in light industrial, like that's where the fire hall is, and that's a community space. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, it'd be different. It'd be different if it was a standalone space for sure, but like, you know,
I'll fix all this. I'll make it pretty. Sorry.
I mean, multifamily too, right? I mean, if there's a planned development, if they want to act based on it, absolutely, won't they?
And we are trying to, like, I think with the zoning, the code updates and like refreshing this, trying to get away from PDs because. Yeah. Like now, like a lot of the PDs that we did have, like for men, those uses are now allowed in those zones. So it would be great to have paths forward without the PD. Like having more tools for like affordable, like housing tools that could increase density or increase if you provide a public benefit, like it should just be something that's allowed without PD, I guess. It should just be a process that you follow. But, I think when we go through our comp plan update and zoning changes and everything, we'll have very few PDs, if any. Okay, composting.
Is there any reason why recycling can be allowed or composting allowed?
I'm wondering if it was because of like glass and some of the, it is a lot.
Yeah, recycling is definitely loud. Composting is no.
And all the commercial zones. Let's say they come out. It feels like someone just pushed it through to add recycling in there. Shop. collections.
We did talk a lot about composting, recycling center. I think there had to be an AI for where it could be allowed. There was a lot of discussion over the last few years on that. I don't remember the ins and outs, but I could get some information, like I could look up why it is that way.
Composting collection center is allowed in GC and TC for Winton.
Yeah,
specifically.
it was specifically
Really?
to allow the location drop sites.
So
But-
the composting collection center is just referring to like the bins. It's just like
Literally,
a trash
places
can.
someone
Like
could
that's
put-
versus recycling center is a bigger facility. Like I guess maybe it should be like defined better that like you shouldn't have to have a I remember there was all this conversation about like why do we have to have a special why do we have to say that the use is allowed to have a compost bin because you can put a trash can wherever you want. So like this is kind of weird, but I feel so I don't know how we define recycling center, but like the recycling center we have is like a way bigger impact than a bin, you know.
We define a recycling center as an interesting component because it's storing, keeping, buying, or selling.
Yeah.
In the recycling center, which is like, that's why it's light industry only, but we actually should remove buying or selling completely
Yeah,
because, well, I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to get,
We don't want to be too, it's very like. It's odd that we're encouraging that. I guess we're
only in industrial.
but we don't explicitly say anything about actual recycling. So.
Because I think that's just accessory, like people recycle and you either take it there or that you have a recycling truck that comes pick it up with the garbage. So I don't think it has to be explicit as its own use because it's just assumed if you have to have garbage. I don't know. That's my thought. I remember they had to add composting collection center specifically and add a definition so that we could put the Winton bins on these properties. So it doesn't mean you can't compost at your house. It just means like the place where people drive and dump it and it's stored for a period of time is allowed in these specific zones. And then we talked about grouping these together. Educational centers and educational facilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep the original centers definitions.
I just want to remember what I've done, like since I'm not doing track changes. Okay, so
Well, I have a question about that. So centers could be like an office space. Essentially, like
how is it defined?
it's, educational services, not limited to business central or trade education. So it could be like a tutoring center or like a place where you go to a class about electrical, I don't know, being an electrician or trade class or something like that. But like an educational facility is pre-K to grade 12, which also means that overlaps with the preschool use too. And so the impacts of those I'm not sure that we would put, a trade school in a residential area, but we would permit elementary schools in a residential area. And so I don't know that they're really the same. They're not well.
Well, to your point, there's more restrictions on the facility. Facility theory should be.
What do you mean?
Well, facilities K through 12,
So these K through 12.
center is,
So the center is actually allowed in the commercial zones, and then the facility, like a school, would not be allowed in the commercial zones,
Yeah.
like a public school. Again, like,
but
I'm
yeah,
thinking
they-
big picture, like zone, like,
yeah,
there's some people that
private
could go
schools.
do away with zoning, but if we're looking at it from
Yeah.
a zoning perspective, we do want to have the schools in places where
Where the
it's for the
people are.
community, for the people, and then commercial is for those more commercial businesses versus. I wouldn't want to have to deal with traffic dropping my kid off down there, or I don't know. I'm just,
I don't know that I wouldn't allow it there, it's just that it wouldn't make sense to put it there. But, financially. But I don't know that I would wanna give up residential area to, I would like to, where we have an educational center here, but I'm not sure if that would belong. If we have,
I mean, I guess if you combine them and they both require CUPs in the residential area, I mean,
Yeah.
and there's clear guidelines and regulations.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, like a high school, middle school, elementary school has a much larger impact than a business trade school. Because like they have the family fun, I mean, they have a lot more community events usually at those public schools than there's usually, it's a larger class, I mean, there's more kids. And I guess an educational center is that like.
I'm wondering if like if we kind of come up with if it's going to be possible to come up with criteria that applies to pretty much all institutional facilities that can be scaled to like our administrative review requirements can be scaled to different sizes of facilities, but it's pretty much like we have a fairly cohesive set of standards for institutional facilities that have like events and a lot of people coming and going and drop off pickup, this kind of thing. Like, does it really make that much difference? Versus if we separate these things out and we have separate zones in which everything is allowed, then it's like that kind of defeats the purpose of having a cohesive set of standards in a lot of ways. I also think that when I was going through and filling out the table, I was trying to like be consistent about whether it was permitted outright, administrative review, or conditional use across all zones, because if we have a set of standards, then the standards would apply in any zone effectively. And I mean, I guess there's cases where you could be like, oh, well, you shouldn't have to go through the additional review in, this zone versus this zone. But I'm like, if the standards are there, like if we're writing standards for this stuff and the standards exist, then should you always adhere to those standards,
that makes sense.
I think the conditional uses are there for those types of uses that, depending on scale or location, might need additional conditions that are not in the code, that the hearing examiner will be able to listen to someone and put extra conditions on it based on its impacts. That's what it's designed for. So if we look at some of these uses, yeah, they might have the same standards, but they could have a different implication based on the scale and the location.
I agree that you could have something where you have administrative review in some zones and you require a hearing examiner to examine things in a different zone. But I think that I agree that if you have a set of standards, like right now we have daycare center has administrative review in the residential areas, but we don't have it with administrative review in the commercial zones. And it would make sense, as Allison said, if we have that set of standards that is undergoing administrative review, that we would do that regardless of where it was.
So. Sorry, I am not following.
Like, let's look, like, daycare center. Like right now we have that it have administrative review for a residential area, but not have just be outright permitted in the commercial and light industrial. But if we have a set of standards that you're reviewing already, wouldn't those also apply? Or maybe they don't, I don't know, maybe this is a bad example, but wouldn't they also apply to the commercial and light industrial zones?
Yeah, I mean, the standards all apply, it's just the review process. So in a commercial zone, they wouldn't have to go through a full administrative review, it would be a limited administrative, versus in a residential zone, it would require the full
I guess the
administrative.
question would be like what's the difference
One requires
in
more,
what the standards are, I guess, or what the
I mean,
requirements are?
it just requires a more public process. So that if you are in a residential zone and somebody's wanting to put in a giant daycare center next to you, you have the opportunity to comment.
So basically the difference is that where we have PX, there's public recourse to challenge the
decision making. I mean, you can appeal anything, but it's more of a public comment. It's like, because
okay.
there might be impacts that
understand.
staff is unaware of. And so we want to give people the opportunity to comment, but not do a
Okay.
full blown hearing.
Got it.
Whereas, yeah.
I think I understand that. Allison, did you understand that? Or do you have a different perspective?
No, I think that makes sense. Yeah, when I think of it as like whether or not public comment is allowed, I think with educational centers and facilities, it's like we're just kind of all over the place on that. Like there's, I don't know. I guess yeah, if we're combining them, to say there's one zone in which it's permitted outright and all the rest are like conditional or PX is sort of random. Like might as well just be more consistent, I guess. But some of them, yeah, like some of the ones that were like, okay, in a residential zone, you go through public comment, and in a commercial zone, you don't go through public comment. I think when we get down further, there were more examples of ones that just felt very scattered, that like what was allowed in different zones was like super random. But.
Oh, I 100% agree.
One question I have is,
Yeah.
does the possible crossover between daycare and educational facilities and places of worship matter? Or because those are going to be separately permitted, that each one will take care of itself? If a place of worship wants to be educational center in, I don't know, a zone that seems to, I'm just looking here.
In that situation, from like a building code perspective, usually like one use is primary and one use is accessory. So we do have this like accessory thing where we call out some accessory stuff, and maybe that's why like daycare center kind of landed an accessory, because often it is an accessory use to something else. But I think in terms of like, if you're saying, well, we have a church and then the church has a daycare associated with it, you have to decide like which one is the primary use. And that would be what you base the
permitting off of, or
permitting on. So if it was like I don't know, the Church of the Nazarene School, like I don't actually know how you decide, like, because the school might actually take up more square footage than the church.
Can we just make place of worship the same as schools, like the same process?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, yeah, and like maybe the distinction won't matter that much, like in terms of, you know, which one is accessory and which one is primary would be based on square footage, but if they're allowed and not allowed in similar zones, and if they are subject to the same like institutional review standards, then, you know, then there shouldn't be a conflict.
Perfect, thank you.
So if we're gonna remove this one and make this, sorry. Could I make place of worship that match kind of the same as educational centers? Is there kind of places of public and private assembly there, they could be, have both components and then it's clean across the board, there's no question? Because both educational facilities and places of worship could be huge scale, they could be really small scale, but that gives the opportunity for, in the residential zones, to have a process.
You know, and I do also see in future, there will be businesses. Medium to large employers, I would say, that may want to set up a small daycare center in one of their rooms for their employees. Which, you know, I think we should also consider. Especially as behavior gets more and more expensive, that could become a benefit for employees.
I think we're not gonna be able to address every possible scenario. I think I would, like, if I were processing an application and it was a use like that, like a business, and the care is for the people that work there, it has kind of a different impact because they're dropping their kid off as they're coming to work, they're leaving with their kid. And so it would be more of an accessory use than a standard use.
Yeah.
And I guess we'd have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But that is a really good point. I think it's hard. I mean, we go through this every day and at work, we're like, let's put together an SOP for this processing a building permit. And there's always those one-offs.
Yes.
And we could.
Yeah. It's the same way for setting an address, yes.
Okay, so sorry. You guys are comfortable with me making that the same?
Yeah.
They'll all have kind of the same.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the C and then residential covers.
Okay. Okay, while I'm doing this, you guys can keep. Do you have yours pulled up on your?
Golf courses. Colin, your opinion?
Yes.
Retroactive. Retroactive.
Where did I put that? Sorry, guys, I'm like looking at a tiny screen and I don't have. Okay. Okay. Thanks for putting up with me. All right, preschool was what. We're gonna keep the same,
It should look like.
everything else. So we could lump that into like one. Like where I've seen it is like it's a land use with a definition that includes like, this includes preschools, daycares, you know, so they're all clearly defined separately, but this. Anyway.
Yeah.
You could have a land use that includes other defined uses, and then it just cleans it up.
Yes.
And then even in the criteria, you can have large scale, small scale, you know, they can be for like a public school that is like an elementary, middle school, high school, you can have different standards than what a preschool would have. I don't know. You can have conditions and requirements based on the scale of the proposal. Okay, golf courses. We got them in recreation and public.
But it was a PS.
Future.
Here, have some standards. We've got hospital.
Should we identify the house instead of the course?
Are we good with hospital? We address place of worship. Oh, I did change this, so I need to highlight that. Oh my goodness. Preschool is it will be the same as,
I guess I feel like hospital, like if we're only allowing hospitals in commercial zones, do they need a conditional use permit or just institutional level administrative review?
I think we can simplify that. Yes. I don't, why, and it's in rec, which is interesting. I don't think we want.
I think we can go.
That's, Steve's not in our
to put a,
permitting.
so changing
definition
these,
of Hospital, like.
It's a large facility where people can stay and get.
that would probably be more of a clinic.
I just don't see hospital.
That would be in the skin mark.
So are we good with that change then?
But light industrial.
I wonder is it being allowed in the rec zone related to how like back when Cascade wanted to expand, they entertained the idea of moving like building a whole new hospital behind Safeway, which I think that was all zoned recreation
Still funky, yeah.
back then, and now like more of it they've changed the zoning for a lot of it, and now there's not much left.
I think what's vacant out there is commercial right now. The recreation.
On the zoning map, it shows. Well, I guess that's all KOA.
Yeah, KOA is recreation.
That's the only thing yeah. But I mean, honestly, that might have been like a leftover from when they were talking about putting it back there and they hadn't changed the zone or something. Because now I'm like, where would it go in a recreation zone? You know.
I think, guys, this is a huge undertaking because we didn't have a district use chart until when, Allison, like 2021, 2020. And so we took all our codes and made a district use chart based on these old codes. So now it's like refining the district use chart that you're really working through and making.
Yeah, it was like for every use, it like listed what zones it was allowed in or something. I don't know.
Each zone had its own chapter, and then in each zone it said what was allowed, what was accessory, what was it was messy.
Yeah.
So this is a cleanup that has needed to happen for a long time. Wait, I'm sorry. So I feel like I'm all over the place. So preschool how is that defined? Does that have I probably have it right here.
Yeah.
Nursery school.
Just a group in education.
Yeah, serving children before they begin attending elementary school or kindergarten. I don't see any reason why we need to.
Wouldn't we treat that kind of similar to like the daycare center?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I don't think it's the other educational facilities because they're not going to have the impacts like giant events or
right.
So the daycare comes down.
Sorry. I can't see. Okay.
You can zoom in, it's fine.
I know, but then it screws up everything else. Then you guys can't see the whole chart.
If we can all look at it.
People online can't.
People
The extra people online. The people that are watching this tomorrow. It's really exciting.
So public utility, high impact, low impact,
Only distinctions.
yeah.
They are clearly defined.
Yeah. I mean, post offices and city hall, law enforcement, and library, all high traffic places. So the only difference is that public facility, high impact fire stations are slightly louder. Yes, sure.
Public works facilities with the,
But I live next to the washout lot, which is like, what's like, that's a huge facility with big trucks and it's no louder than ours on commercial street right next to multi-township. So I don't know, it's just the high-low impact distinctions. Particularly.
I mean, to your point, I would say in EMS, no high impact. The low would be literally buildings,
yeah.
libraries, this.
Yeah,
It's not as much about traffic. I think it's more about light, noise,
Yeah.
that kind of
Equipment
thing.
used.
And hours of operation.
sure, I mean, the sheriff's sitting idling his car 24/7 up on park, so like.
I'm just saying that's why.
So I just think the distinction is fine. That's all. I don't think there needs to be necessarily a distinction of high or low impact. I think that public facilities should all go through the same standard set of standards.
I see the PX, like residential high impacts.
Do you want to do like a CUP for the high impact? Because it could be, I mean, I do think there's a differentiation between the building and the hours of operation and the noise and like city hall's not gonna generate as much as the public works facility on a winter day when they're plowing and at 2 a.m.
True.
Yeah, and
But they generate the same amount of noise on my street. 4 a.m. So,
No.
like,
and why, a small sub-fire station in that multi-family zone wouldn't be a bad idea either. So, let's see if we,
Would you guys be okay with that? Is that can we
Yeah.
meet in the middle?
yeah, I was just the distinction for me just didn't seem as like, I don't know where it came from and why it's. There has to be this historic reference for someone's like, well,
I can try. And that doesn't mean it has to stay that way. I'm just. If you, I mean, I'll let you guys go, if you want it to be administrative,
it's not, I don't think we need to dig into that one.
I think just drop a C in for high impact. And that way we cover. We're not excluding anything outright. And they can make an argument that, yes, for high impact, by definition, we'll really adopt that.
It's kind of the same here. The high and low, so just keeping it. Gosh.
The outdoor use versus passive recreation.
Recreation outdoor use is an interesting one for me, mostly because of the way the adventure park is set. And the tax code they pay, their land use code is 91 according to the county, which is not just undeveloped land range, open land undeveloped.
That's an assessor thing.
I know, but it's misassessed, right? It should be 74, it should be for recreational.
So, all right, I can't say this for Lynn County. But Douglas County isn't using the word for
Any kind of purpose.
for any kind of.
It's a tax implication too.
Yeah, but it's just, it's not being used. And what I heard was that also the parts. I can't verify that. how it's, as they've been used in the past, you have to say that. So.
Good to know.
Recreation,
So-
recreation passive is parks. Really wouldn't be that way we have it defined,
Mhm.
and recreation outdoor uses
Like swimming pools and outdoor
based on that.
tennis courts.
Change recreation passive to fun.
I think that would be like if you wanted to have a trail, like if you wanted to have a trail system through somewhere, it wasn't necessarily, I mean, you have passive recreation too. But not necessarily a park.
Those are the only things, those are the two things we have.
River access.
It just says that it's permitted, and we don't have to get a special permit to put in a trail through a passive recreation area. But the recreation outdoor use, did you say you had a question on that?
Not a question, I think we should expand the definition. to be a bit more. It's in public, semi-public too, and I think that we don't really have, we don't have entertainment. So we have family entertainment, commercial amusement enterprise, high impact. low impact.
High
Yeah.
impact was what Adventure Park was permitted under, and it's not allowed anywhere, and that was on purpose after that. That was a community outcry. So
Yeah.
we
No,
define it clearly as that. And so the outdoor recreation, like, we should look at those three definitions and see.
Yeah, the recreation outdoor use of public is great. That's not too much. It could even move to, those could, in my mind, move to gangs.
I think in these residential zones, because of the lighting and other things, that's, again, why I think public ones.
Sure, I mean, you can't build a baseball line in forest. Yeah, so maybe that's another question, is like, based on what we've defined, just take outdoor use.
In the commercial zone. there is defense.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys. They're all lowercase. It's gonna be a mess.
Yes,
Right here.
for the commercial for outdoor use.
Oh, PX, sorry. I did not. hear. Oh, but permitted in rec? Because it would already be zoned for recreation use.
But not outdoor recreation, this is way defined, so that would be PX.
Okay. Thank you. I follow. We already talked recycling center.
Cell phones. Cell phone towers,
We don't allow that by,
put it in my yard. So,
No, because our code is so restrictive with like heights and
or our code explicitly says no wireless communications towers in town. And so the
not
fact that
towers, but facilities are allowed.
facilities are allowed,
What's the facility that's not a tower?
We have them all over
those
downtown.
are, they're antenna.
They're inside,
Okay, we call them antenna.
okay,
So they're elevated antennas.
they're inside buildings.
Okay.
There's
But
one in
those-
the clock tower, there's a few in the yellow, the
Got it.
modeler.
But the conditional part of, we don't need them in residential neighborhoods because of the way it's put it to based on. We are exempting anything in the front yard setback area. Well, no, read that.
Wait,
Intended to receive and process and not located within any front, no, that's, those are things that are exempt. So,
They're like small little, like your
yeah,
ham radio. in there.
no, this is for direct to home communication. I mean, this is old language, right? We're satellite dishes. We're all on fiber now.
yeah.
We don't-
It could use an update.
I don't think we wanna crack into that, but like,
No.
I don't think it needs to go so tough either, like. The direction we're going with wireless and telecommunication would be mesh on telephone. We will have very little power to stop TV anyway from installing. When they sign this contract.
I would say drop multifamily PX.
You need that. But that's not covered in this. This is the way the code's written. It doesn't cover fiber. It's wireless communication.
Even cell. You have cell signals.
Yeah, you can amplify it, yeah. I feel like anything, I wanna be careful about restricting anything that would help our cell services. Yeah.
But if you're at
Yeah.
1,000 units, you actually need to add cell.
Yes, yeah.
That's
Ingress points.
And the county allows them outside of city limits. We allow them, but just, we don't allow anything over that exceeds height, and anything in the commercial zones has to meet the variant theme and be
But they
inside the
could,
building.
they could get like plopped onto existing telephone poles or buildings.
They have to be, I mean, I don't know, like if they're in certain zones, they have to blend and they still have to meet height requirements.
So I would still argue multifamily.
Sure, I agree with that. I agree.
And then, in the truly residential. Because communities gonna have. some impact.
What facility is the misleading thing here? Look, this facility implies a large footprint, and they're putting wireless, the way the fiber boxes work. Like, those are not. We don't have wireless in the neighborhoods. It's normal. I'd be interested in putting, unless they put something that's mesh. The mesh would be.
I mean, I can show you guys an example of what we permitted. We had one that they were just doing upgrades to, and it's caused a big issue because of the frequency. So they're doing these upgrades to 5G to all these other things, and it actually can cause, like, there's a big issue with the ones that are already existing and trying to upgrade because it's in the Mottler building, and anything within 15 feet of that. So if the guys are working on the stoplights, or it can mess with the frequency of the stoplight. So we're at a standstill with WashDOT and the wireless providers, and they might not be able to upgrade because of that location. So there's a lot to look at, and a lot of, like, we need to be able to send these to agencies for review and comment. Which it's a commercial permit anyway, and so we would probably send it out and take it through an administrative review anyway, a full administrative. So if it wasn't, I process CUPs in the commercial zones for these since I've been here. I've processed like 3.
Right, but does a commercial hearing person in that scenario, are they a specialist in this, or would it make more sense for us to put it into the internal administrative review
Yeah.
and actually have someone, some advise us on?
They actually are required per the code, and there's pretty strict standards in here where they have to provide something from a.
Right, but cup just sounds like.
But we don't need a
excess
CUP.
expensive.
I think it's
Excess
the,
expense. Yeah.
there's no reason to have the hearing examiner involved. So like, I'm fine with. If we have everywhere that we do want to potentially allow it to have a PX. Which would include, you would think, also the light industrial, we need to be working with.
Administrative review. You still require maybe hearing.
There's just not a hearing. There's a public notice, but not a public hearing. And I've heard from
But you
some
could-
council or different people that want hearings for everything. So we're gonna get a lot of pushback. I'm glad we're doing this now. I'm just preparing you for, we're gonna have the people that want a CUP for everything.
If
They want a CUP for,
during administrative review, you hear a lot of voices, can you voluntarily add a public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
I can't in the code right now. It's because it's based on the process, right? It's full administrative, limited administrative, or limited full CUP. And there's different state mandated timelines. So if some of these require a lot of review, if we do limited or full administrative, I only have 100 days to issue it. Versus if it goes to a public hearing, I have 170 days. And so that's a lot of pressure on staff. And if we don't meet those deadlines, we can get in trouble. So I'm trying to make you think big picture here and about like small staff. And 100 days versus 170 days is quite a bit for a review of a big project. I get B&Bs, like I don't I 100% agree with you, and a lot of these I 100% agree with you, but some of these larger things, more technical, that we have to send out to a third party, come back. It's gonna be really hard to process that quick. When we have to do a 2-week public comment, we have 28 days to determine it complete. We've got, and if you have multiple of these that you're processing at the same time, you're juggling that plus. But we don't have the numbers that other jurisdictions have, the volume of permits, but we are, we have we do a lot more than just pushing land use and building permits. So I'm fine. I'm gonna, you guys are the recommenders. I just want you to know the impact it has on staff. I'm fine with making a decision if there's clear standards, but there's also timelines built in that might be challenging based on the size and scope of a project.
Let's keep it CUP and. Yeah, so
Maggie, I really appreciate you pointing that out. I think a lot of us don't know which things require extra time, and knowing that there's that big time difference, like definitely let us know if you're like, that one's actually going to be really hard to handle under that timeline. But I am hoping also that when we, like, if we bring this to the council and the public with standards, then hopefully that will relieve some of the concerns that people would have. But we'll see.
I think so. I think too, because we don't have standards right now, it's very hard for people to see, like, well, how are we gonna do that? Because, yeah. So, I'm not trying to. I agree with a lot of what you guys say. I'm just trying to come at it from a different.
Well, that's enough deadline to wireless telecommunication facility loaded. Said there's technical problems. Upgrades are going to. Our upgrade language was relatively strong with the bond requirements and everything they have to put in place for removal, but at the same time, like.
This is just like having an existing antenna and trying to swap it out for a different one, and now we're having problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to development options.
Do we need 51? Could that just be in our? Could that just be in our subdivision code?
Care.
Yeah, I don't know why that's there.
Yeah, I remove that.
Because I think we allow them regardless. People
Yeah.
have to have a place to go when they're working on us. We allow people to live anyway. So just.
Yeah, just remove.
We'll make sure we do define it in our subdivision code somewhere. Use of the temporary.
We might add that to like 1180, 11. Oh my gosh, I'm just like 1836. That's kind of the kitchen sink of everything, where we allow, like, it talks about use of recreational vehicles. We could say, because once something goes through subdivision code and it's reported, you don't go back to Title 17. And so I don't want to really put it there. It's more of a use of property once as it's being developed.
Part of the development.
Yeah. But I think adding it to either 1836 or somewhere in 14. As permitted. And then it wouldn't have to be in here at all.
Nothing stood out.
Yeah, anything else other than the flag and development options?
We're going to combine home park.
Yes. And we have to address manufactured home criteria this year too, so. Our manufactured home code hasn't been updated since like the 80s, so that's another fun one. That we tried to tackle once and then it was like, this is too hard, we're gonna do something else.
I just,
Nope, that is 100%. We're gonna combine them because right now we don't have any standards for tiny home parks. We defer to manufactured home park and it's really, really, really old language. They actually should be called a community, not a park.
makes sense to me.
That's beautiful.
So then we would move.
So commercial retail is gonna be a beast, so
Okay.
I think we table that one until next time. Let's see if we can knock out industrial really quick, because we just.
Okay. And if you want to, if you guys have access to this and you want to put in your thoughts, and I can look at what you guys have done and then send an email, like based on the feedback, this is what I'm thinking before next week. Or not before next month, then I can actually have it put together in a way that we can have more movement. If you'd like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we really are whole bunch of.
Yeah, so anyway, let's get through industrial. We've gotten through almost all. Okay, bulk fuel storage. Is that a nowhere?
It's on C.
Industrial.
It was on conditional. This is, keep in mind, this is edited.
Okay. And I mean, bulk fuel storage will go through fire review, building review, I mean, everything. And I'm sure there's standards with like setbacks from property lines, just like there is for your tiny little fuel tank at your house.
So
So
you're gonna give us some.
I think allowing it in industrial with standards is fine. Construction yards. Permitted outright, we're good. Cryptocurrency mining,
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna go bankrupt. So.
No problems there.
Okay.
essential public facilities.
That was an interesting one, Mike.
Yeah.
It's not, that doesn't have a conditional, that's just outright, but
Like
like
I said,
what?
on public utilities.
Yeah.
What is it?
Why, we were wondering why it wasn't.
How is that defined? Let's see. I should have that.
Facilities that are difficult to cite, such as airports, state education facilities, and state or regional transportation facilities.
Oh, they're defined in our.
They're in our CPD.
So I think this is another thing that we have to update, citing of essential public facilities might be in the comp plan update as well.
Services and statewide significance.
So like the washout yard. But that's,
So
the
the goal is
washout
to-
yard is
Because it's old and it was probably there before.
it's one that's,
It's like commercial, isn't it?
yeah.
General. Any concerns with what's on the screen?
Heliports and aviation.
Again, guys, I think this is maybe gonna go away because it's overly complicated and hasn't been used in more than like 15 years. 10 or 15 years. But,
Do we want to allow a heliport? Unless there's a,
What if Cascade, I mean, what about on the hospital?
they would,
right now,
right
it's
now
not.
it's in light industrial.
Would that be an accessory use to the
Well,
hospital?
that's what I was, yeah.
I think if they wanted to land a hospital on the helicopter on the roof of the hospital, that would be accessory, but it would still have to be approved through like FAA and whatever else the heliports have to go through. But so this would be like a standalone thing, and I'm like, well, I don't know, does Cascade want that, or like search and rescue? Do they
I feel like.
do they
this-
want that? I mean, it's like they, you know, if they
Like,
land
if they
heli-
have the need, they can go to council, and we can change this when they have the need, like, we probably have to.
Like, and again, we're thinking just city limit. They use like the fish hatchery. They use a lot of
Mhm.
The other
properties
thing
as
is air taxis.
The middle of the road.
Yeah, so you've got all of that.
No, Matt Moser,
You're right,
my neighbors were. He's my neighbor in town. That's his job.
Yeah.
Moser literally works for WISC in this, is building air taxis. And they are looking at cities with code like this and saying like, are there reasons for us to put an air taxi base?
I think we don't touch this.
Nearby.
Leave it as conditional by Johnson.
Rob Johnson got an airport.
That's true.
I mean, I think there is, like, I mean, it's in there and it's been listed as conditional, and we can leave it listed as conditional. I do think that you need to remember that, like, if it's listed as conditional, it will probably be allowed if somebody decides they want to do that. Like,
That
it's
was
conditional is like not
That-
that you know, you can only put so many conditions on things. You can't condition it out of
We need a
existence.
stronger definition too. I don't think we have heliports defined in definitions. Yeah, so we do need to define, that's something that does need a definition.
So in the definition.
But from what Allison just said, I mean, I would move to strike it and then from anything, and then if
It comes up.
it comes up as a public need for the public good, we can.
Or, yeah, so maybe we just tack on to the essential public facilities.
Sure. That's the only hope, yeah.
That's true. I mean, like, if search and rescue was like, oh, actually, because like whatever situation changed and we really want to be able to land it out on like County Shop Road,
But
then can we just say like that's an essential public facility? And that's different than saying like a private heliport would be allowed, you know?
Let's just tack it to essential public facilities.
The next line down, high tech industry, computer assembly, and type uses, we don't have a definition, so we just need a definition.
Peters.
Does it require, oh, again, this wasn't on my list because it didn't require CUP.
It doesn't have CP, but that was one I just.
No, I'm
open the door.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you guys, this is like, Elizabeth, thank you for putting this together. I wouldn't have had the skills or the time.
I just typed into AI to change it and put it into something I can paste.
Still, not,
I don't think it was just essential public facilities, but weren't we gonna put that to public?
Oh, yeah.
sorry, I can't see that. So essential public facilities, sorry.
It's number 8, 9,
Yeah, that row you're on, but just, we were gonna move it out of industrial and into
public.
public.
The recreation public?
No, move it up the. land
Oh,
use
sorry, I'm like,
categories.
what? Okay,
It's okay. It's getting late. It's okay.
move to public uses. Oh my gosh, I can't even spell. Okay. We don't allow junk in wrecking yards. Or landfills, or light industry. Wait, we do, I'm like, wait, what? No, we do. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, no, the way we define light industry too, though, is like the making of shoes and clothing, things like that also fit into that.
Mhm.
The definition needs work.
Yeah.
Update.
Just like.
Consumer oriented
Which is, that's too,
product or producer,
which is very, very vague.
rather than used by others.
Yes, please help me.
Self-storage, truck and freight terminals, yeah, yeah. Sure.
Those all make sense, right? There are specific uses that are intended for industrial zones, and we have like very few in city limits. They're all in there.
Rest are good.
Okay, so for the sake of getting you guys home and sleep, do you want to can you guys email me individually? So it's not a forum. Individually email me just your commercial. Or just update this and let me know when you've done it, so I know that I can
Yes,
move forward, because I will forget about it. If you don't tell me.
so yes, our homework is to go into your tab. Information specifically to commercial. Retail. So-
And the sooner you do it, then I can get it done quicker. You won't get it as late as this last packet. I really appreciate all your work on this, you guys. I think it's been good dialogue and, yeah, it's nice to hear from everyone and get feedback. And I think there's a lot of thought behind this. So thank you.
Everyone stating assignment,
Yes.
Okay.
need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Didn't get through our whole agenda, but it was a little too much.
We got a lot.